Please take out your notebooks and your basics charts as we take a look at Hungary. And please notice there is a difference in spelling between Hungary, the country, and hungry. I want food. There's an extra letter in the country of Hungary. Here you see a picture of the capital of Hungary. Can anybody tell me the name of the capital of Hungary? Based on your readings, based on your maps, based on your assignments. The capital of Hungary. Budapest, yes, and so this is Budapest. What river flows through Budapest? What river flows through the heart of Hungary? Starts in Germany, flows all the way to the Black Sea. It's the river that you see on this picture. That would be, Victor? The Danube. Good. Good. Now we'll talk about something special about Budapest when we get into the notes. Doug, question? No? Okay. So let's start with the basics chart. The basics. Everybody should have their basics charts for Eastern Europe. Here we go. Boom. Shakalaka. Land area. Comparing to Minnesota here, is Hungary less than or greater than 1 or 2? Less than, greater than, less than, greater than, less than, greater than. 1 or 2, less than Minnesota, greater than Minnesota. 1 or 2, remember hands are above your heads. Less than, greater than, less than, greater than. We're sort of split here. Ladies and gentlemen, Hungary is less than half the size of Minnesota. Hungary is a small country. Not as small as Vatican City and some others, but it is a small country. 93,000 square kilometers, approximately. What about population compared to Minnesota? 1 less than, 2 greater than. 1 less than, 2 greater than. Less than, greater than, less than, greater than. The area is less than half the size of Minnesota, but its population is twice the size. Approximately 10 million. So who can tell me something about population density? Who can tell me something about population density? Yes, Elijah. You think it's going to be greater than Minnesota? Why? Because there's less land area and more people, and you are exactly correct. 111 people per square kilometer. Quite a bit more crammed or packed. It's more dense. Ooh. Arable land. 50%. That's huge. Why? You read about it. Here's a hint. It is not the North European plain because there are mountains between the North European plain and Hungary. Why is the arable land so high? Because of the Hungarian plain. Good. Languages. What language do they speak in Hungary? Sammy? Hungarian, yes. Do you know what it is in Hungarian? They don't say, oh, we speak Hungarian. Nobody remembers? Well, we'll get into it in the notes. We'll see if that jogs your memory. Life expectancy, ladies and gentlemen, slightly less. For the women, quite a bit less for the men compared to the United States. And GDP per capita is typical for Eastern Europe. Below 20,000. Again, that's partially due to the fact that who controlled Eastern Europe during the Cold War? Who controlled Eastern Europe? Sydney. Soviet Union. So they didn't have control of their own economies. That's why. So, Hungary. Who can tell me one of the two things about Hungary you can tell from this slide? Colin. It is part of the EU, correct. And who can tell me something else? Laura. It does not use the euro, correct. Now, does Hungary have any coasts on any seas or oceans? Yeah. No, it is, ooh, he used the word. He used the word landlocked. Boom. Who can tell me what that means? What does landlocked mean? Bailey? There's no bodies of water surrounding their land? Sort of, but I see a body of water right here on this picture. Okay, there are no oceans or seas that it borders, correct. It does not have direct access to the oceans or to the seas, but yet it can ship things around the world and ship things in from around the world. What gives it access to the outside world? It is landlocked, but what gives it access to the rest of the world? Nate? The Danube, that's right. The Danube is its only access to the sea. So the only way they can ship things is by going down the Danube or up the Danube. But that means that they have to ship through different countries, because to get to the Black Sea, for example, they'd have to go into Serbia, Romania, and possibly along the border with Moldova. Excuse me. 50% arable land. Review, why was that? What causes Hungary to have such fertile land? Yes. The Hungarian plain. And the Hungarian plain can be found in the eastern part of the country. The Hungarian plain can be found in the eastern part of the country. The Danube River pretty much divides the country into two. You have the east side and the west side. What do you find in the west? What do you find in the west? If in the east you have the Hungarian plain, Nate? Not really mountains. Not really mountains. But you do have forests and lakes and some hills, yeah. Forests and lakes and hills. On your assignment, it even gave you a name for it. You don't need to know the name, but does anybody remember the name? Yes. Transdanubia, yes. Has anybody ever heard of a place called Transylvania before? Ooh. Do you know what trans means? It's based on the word transit, and transit means, or trans is like on the other side. Transdanubia, on the other side of the Danube River, yeah. Transylvania. Sylvania is an old word meaning forest. Transylvania is the land on the other side of a forest in what is now Romania. So we have the rolling hills, lakes, and forests in the west, and there's a huge lake. Hungary has this huge lake, one of the largest lakes in Europe. It's a very popular tourist attraction. Anybody remember the name? Lake Balaton. Yes, Lake Balaton. That is in the western part of the country. And so if I bring up a map, here you see the Danube going pretty much down the center of the country. Here you have Budapest, or Budapest in English. Here's Lake Balaton. Look how huge it is compared to the rest of the country. If you're on the west side of the Danube, Trans-Danubia, you're going to have some rolling hills, lakes, forests. If you're on the east side of the Danube, that's where you have your plains. That's where you have the Hungarian plain. I do not know how to speak Hungarian, because remember, Hungarian is not related to any other languages in Europe except for Finnish and Estonian. That you dealt with on your maps looking at the the languages of Europe. So I don't know how to say any of these, other than I know an SZ together makes a S sound. SZ is a regular S sound, that I know. A regular S is like a sh sound. The climate. Hungarian climate is pretty simple because we're not really dealing with the North Atlantic current here anymore, because we're isolated from it by mountains and that. They have warm summers and they have cold winters. Similar to Minnesota, but not as extreme. Just like eastern Poland is similar to Minnesota, but not as extreme. So is Hungary. Not as extreme in terms of temperatures, but more similar to Minnesota. There's the physical geography. Any questions so far? Pretty straightforward, I think, on this one. So, let's move on to the economy. Two main parts of Hungary's economy. One of it relates to the fact that it has so much arable land. What would that be? 50% arable land. You automatically have to assume that farming would be very important. Yes, and what would be the term we use when you talk about the economy and farming? Rachel? Agriculture. Agriculture is big, and what would be the other one? And no, it's not Sports Illustrated, but it does have the same letters. Does have the same letters. Jordan? Not Sports Illustrated. What is it? Service industries. Good. Agriculture and service industries. Agriculture and service industries. The government of Hungary is the same kind of government as the UK, as Ireland, as Canada. What kind of government is that? The same as the UK, same as Canada. That would be parliamentary democracy is correct. And if I remember correctly, and I've never been in Budapest, I believe this might be their government building. I believe that is their parliament building in the picture. What's their capital? What is the capital of Hungary? You've heard me say it many times today. It is Budapest. In Budapest, they would say Budapest. What's special about Budapest? Budapest is special. There's something special about it. If you did your reading and you did your summary sheet, what is special about Budapest? That's right. It's really two cities, Buda on one side and Pest on the other, divided by the Danube River. Where does that sound familiar? Where do you have two cities that are right next to each other that really you can't tell where one ends and the other begins? Yes. Minneapolis, St. Paul, yeah. You really have a hard time telling where one ends and where the other begins if you didn't look at the signs. Yep. Budapest. Last part, looking at the people. What do you call people from Hungary? And no, they're not Hungarians. No, they're not Huns. Even though that's where they get the name from Attila the Hun. His people settled in the area of Hungary. What is the name of the Hungarian people? Espen? Magyars, yes. He did the reading. He did the assignment. That's how he knew it. Colin, did you? Ooh, and you've had all weekend to do that. The people are Magyars. That's what they call themselves. And they actually are not originally from Europe. The Magyars are originally from Asia. And they moved to Europe about 1,000 years ago. They moved to Europe from the steppes of Asia and Central Asia about 1,000 years ago. They're only related to two other peoples in Europe. They're not related to Poles, they're not Slavic, not related to Germans, they're not Germanic. What are the two people they are related to in Europe? The other two people that speak that similar language, but not related to anybody else in Europe. Grant, going to give it a shot? Yes, the Finns and Estonians. Good. Those are the only two other people, the only two other groups in Europe that the Hungarians or the Magyars are related to. The Finns and Estonians also came from Asia. So those are their only relatives, and they're not even nearby. Most of the people in Hungary follow what religion? Most of the people in Hungary follow what religion? Connor? That's the name of the religion, not the people. Yes, you can. Catholicism, that's right. You just added an extra L. Yes, they follow Roman Catholicism, so we say that they are Roman Catholic. Yep. Catholicism. And if I were you, I would not be joking, because he's proven he's done his assignment. And when I pass all progress reports tomorrow, he's going to be the one laughing at you. There's one thing that the Magyars, or the people from Hungary, have given the United States. I try to think of things that these cultures have given us, and there's one thing that stands out. They gave us something that in Hungarian is called gulyás. Does anybody know what gulyás is? Doug? It is a food. We call it goulash, yes. Now, there's a problem with that, though. Because what many Americans think of as goulash is not goulash. A lot of Americans think of goulash as this macaroni and tomato and meat thing that's all cooked together. That's not goulash. Real goulash is a stew with hunks of steak, potatoes, carrots, and lots of paprika. Red pepper powder. It's a spicy stew. Yes. But remember, they don't call themselves Hungary, so it's not ironic, and it's not spelled the same way. We get the term Hungary from German. They called the area Ungarn. U-G-A-R-N, Ungarn. In Polish, it's Węgry. In Hungarian, it's, Magyarország. It's this big long word, lots of consonants. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Hungary for your learning pleasure.